officer before the committee. Thank you for your response to our invitation and appearing in person before the Bills and Legislation Committee this afternoon. I have with me here on my right Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, Member of Parliament for Auke Langana, Honourable Matiwale. Further right, Honourable Frida Tuki, Member of the Bills and Legislation Committee, and from the Vatu constituency, and I have Honourable David Gina on my left. We are pleased to have you, and you are very, very much familiar with our process and our privileges. We accorded you, speak to us. You are protected under our parliamentary privileges, which we have. And without further ado, I will now ask you, PS, make your presentation to us on the bill, Minerals Resources Bill 2025, and then we can respond with questions and if we have a comment to your presentation. Thank you, PS.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all members of the BLC for the invitation to appear before you, this very hard-working committee. In this afternoon, I am pleased to be joined by my most powerful Commissioner of Lands, and also the National Recorder, the wise and very hard-working National Recorder. They will be given the opportunity to share some of their views after. Chair, I would like to take this time to also thank my colleague PS and his team from the Ministry of Mines for bringing this very important bill up to this stage. On behalf of my ministry, I would like to also express a profound gratitude for the new Mineral Resource Bill. This is truly historical. Our people have been waiting for this to talk about too much, this one. And also this time, Ms. Abe too, that there is mining fever. Everyone talk about now. And even some maybe visiting the Ministry of Mines too. It's a very, very historical one, this one. There is landmark legislation, in our view, is set to significantly improve how our country manages its natural resources and also promote economic growth. Looking through this bill, I think its provisions will greatly enhance clarity, transparency, and efficiency within the mineral sector, ultimately benefiting both the government, but more importantly and specifically what our land and resource owners below in Milo country if mining and go full swing. Chair, for our land owners, our resource owners in the country, especially those holding customary land, you may have more than 80% of land and customary. So for them, the bill strongly affirms their rights in our view. It ensures that access agreements and compensation processes are conducted transparently and fairly. If you look at this bill, element of that inside this bill. Yeah. So this is an essential step for building trust and encouraging cooperation between all parties involved in this sector. The bill also, in our view, includes important provisions for community development payments or community There is provision for those payments and safeguards the right to exercise, especially customary rights by people in Garemia, and ensuring that local communities directly share in the benefits derived from mining activities. It's already happening here in Guadalcanal. The resource owners are already benefiting and planting story and attracting staka for Kokolsaplo blessing here too. But it belongs to the resource owners and landowners of this island. So, Chair, I think a notable feature of this bill, in our view, is the close alignment with the Lands and Title Act. A lot of provisions and clauses relate to this law. Specific clauses in this bill, explicitly allow for the registration of access agreements of a registered land as if they were leases. In this bill too, also requires the Registrar of Land to verify mining register before registering customary land. This one highlighting here the vital coordination between the Ministry of Lands and the Ministry of Mines, plus other stakeholders too, to uphold and respect land rights within the mineral sector. Chair and committee members, this bill I'm also including too, as we noted, provisions for customary land acquisition. And customary land acquisition process, when exercised judiciously, these provisions can serve the public interest while carefully safeguarding the rights of owners if we do it properly. This holistic approach, which we believe Bilia providing way for him, paving way for him, demonstrate a balanced integration of land law and also the mineral resource management, and also setting the stage for responsible development, especially low mining sector. Chair, it is our hopeful expectation that this bill will foster harmonious relationship between resource owners and the investor if we do properly follow more processes here. I would like to stop here. For your information, Chair, the Commission of Lands and the National Recorder, they were involved in a lot of consultation, even from 2023 with this bill. So I would like for give him an opportunity to also share their views, starting with the Commissioner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, PS. Please, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, PS Lands, for that introduction from our Ministry of Lands. I think I'll start off by talking about the bill, well, the existing act that this bill is seeking to replace. So the current act really does not relate well to the Land and Titles Act. There is only really one reference in it where at the end of a mining process, where a miner has gone through the process of prospecting license, surface access agreement, and then mining lease. And once they get the mining lease, there is a provision in the current Act that says you go to the Registrar of Titles and ask the Registrar of Titles to please register their mining lease. Now, the difficulty with that is, what if it's unregistered customary land? Now, as you probably know, I'm responsible for the approximately 20% of the land area of the country that is registered, and Mary, our National Recorder, is responsible for the other 80% of the land area that is not registered, with the process of potentially recording and registering that customary land. More likely than not, mines are going to be on customary land, unless they're existing mines that have gone through a long process in the past of having that mine established, like Gold Ridge, for example. Even Rennell is registered. But new mines and the new process of going through a prospecting license, etc., it's more than likely that that's going to be on customary land. So what happens if a mining company has gone through this whole process, the surface access agreement, they've made some payment to the landowners who they believe are the landowners, they've paid for their prospecting licence and mining licence, and then they want to get it registered, the Registrar of Title is going to say, well, how do I register this? There's no parcel number. It's not been surveyed. It's not an area of land that is in the land register. So everyone must go, well, how do we do this? It's just not possible unless we start a whole new acquisition process, for example. And then the mining company will say, well, hang on, we've already paid the landowners. We've already identified who they are through the surface access agreement. You want us to do that all again, which is kind of doubling up the process. So there is a real mismatch right now between the current Act and the Land and Titles Act. They don't speak to each other, and the process just doesn't work. It doesn't gel, and it creates a lot of difficulty, obviously, for a mining company as to how do you register a mining lease with the Registrar of Titles. So when we knew this bill was being prepared, it probably goes back 2 or 3 years, our involvement with the Ministry of Lands. We started to have discussions with Ministry of Mines. They brought us in. We met their director and other staff and the legal drafter, very nice Canadian gentleman, Bill Kosar. Mary and I both had lots of discussions with those people, more than one meeting, multiple meetings, and we explained those difficulties. We explained how the Land and Titles Act and the current Mines Act don't speak to each other, and that issue around how do you register something when it hasn't been gone through an acquisition process, there's no parcel number, how do you register that with the Registrar of Titles? And so Mary and I both tried to impress on them the importance of involving customary land recording as an essential ingredient in the early stages of these mining processes, to run alongside the mining processes. So as you have the letter of intent from the Minister, you have a prospecting licence, there should at the same time be a process where you start the customary land recording process. So under a government-sanctioned, government-supervised process, we identify who the landowners are. And then by the end of the stage, where you get to the point where a mining licence can be granted, you've already identified the landowners, you've already given them a certificate of completion from the National Recorder saying, we recognise, government, that you people are the owners of this land, here is your official record. They can then apply to have the land registered with the Registrar of Titles. So by the time they get the mining company gets the mining licence, there's then a parcel in the Registrar of Titles that they can register that against. So it would make perfect sense for that customary land recording process and the mining process to run alongside each other, to work off each other. So we impressed upon those ideas. We thought we got the message across. Unfortunately, what we see in the bill is none of that. It's not there. I'll be blunt, I won't mince words. And I was very disappointed to see the bill not include any of our thoughts, any of our feedback in there. There's even less reference to the Land and Titles Act now. There is no longer a requirement for the mining company to register with the Registrar of Titles. That's gone. What we do have, our PS has mentioned, there are some references, but there's a kind of, it's a unique kind of situation relating to registered customary land. And there's not much of that around the place. It's a bit of a hangover from the protectorate days. There's not many titles that you'll see. Tanagai is one example, where there's a registered perpetual estate and it just says the owner, where it says the owner, it just says customary land. It doesn't say who the owners of that customary land are. It just says customary land. And the church has then got a lease under that. So who do they pay in terms of the lease payments? It's not clear. The owners are not there. So all it says in the bill is if you have registered customary land, the registrar needs to check against the mining register, which is, yeah, it's nothing much really. So all of that attempt at trying to make sure that we have a government-supervised, government-sanctioned process where we understand and appreciate who the landowners are from the very beginning of the process, it's just not there. So I think Mary might have a few more words to say on that, but at the moment it's left to the mining company themselves to figure out who they think the landowners are. Now, is that a correct process to go through or not? Or whether it would be better to have a transparent public hearing, as would be required under the Customary Land Records Act, to have it publicised and notices in villages and an acquisition officer, recording officer, to go along and listen to all the different claims over the land and collect the genealogies, and it's a very comprehensive process that you would go through. Would the mining company do that? That's another question. So with that, honourable members of the Bills and Legislation Committee, thank you, Chairman and members, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have after Mary has a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Mary, we would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the honour. In the interest of time, I'll just go straight to the area which I would like to speak on, and this would be in relation to Clause 83, A1 and 2. I acknowledge the effort of the Ministry of Mines in having brought this bill up to this far, and I also acknowledge that one of the purposes of the Act is to safeguard, respect and recognize the rights of customary ownership in accordance with customary usage. From Clause 83, Subclause 3A, Paragraph 1 and 2, just a few comments on that. I note Paragraph 1 says that the landowners have been identified and there is a record. So in reference to record, we all know that there can be different records in terms of ownership. You have the Forestry Act, which also have decisions on ownership. You have chief decisions, you have high court decisions that all point towards ownership, and also in terms of have been identified in that paragraph. Just to be clear on what the process is in terms of identification. Going further to Paragraph 2 of that same Clause 83, the process for identifying and recording the people. So here it is talking about recording, but just to clarify within the Act, whether that's the recording under the Customary Land Records Act, or is it just like a recording, for example, a social mapping or intertribal mapping. To such a recording, we all know that it can have legal consequences in terms of whether those recordings have a legal basis that cannot be challenged later. So my recommendation for that would be if in the definition section, if there could be an insertion in there just to clarify what the recording is in that particular Clause 83. Yes, so that's just my comments on that one. Thank you so much.
Would you like to make a recommendation? You want this to directly go back to the land recording, Customary Land Recording Act?
Yeah.
Because that would be up to the Ministry of Mines to decide.
Inform us so it informs our recommendation.
Yes, so my recommendation as the National Recorder would be to clarify the recording is under as per Customary Land Records Act.
Can I just come back to Commissioner, following up on this recommendation from Mary. So, just so I understand, leaving mining aside, so mining no more, you must go get a mining lease, logging concession, you know, go take a lease lo eme. So mining no more, and the current regulatory framework would then registrar of titles receives, this application for register and lease. If we run this program, this process, law customary land, say mining law, antaplo alsa or maleta, because we've got plenty of diamond there. So, manlo alsa is sirano sadly. So if there was going to be mining there, and following law recommendation by you and Mary, we go through customary land recording process. Do we then end up with a registration? Lo here would say tenement area must be registered. But the customary land recording process here, himself go end up law registration also alienated land? No. Where does that happen? How does that happen?
Thank you, Honourable. It can do. It's all voluntary at the moment. So under the Customary Land Records Act, the process is, as I explained, notices go up, a public hearing is held, again, I'm making it wrong, acquisition process and recording process are quite similar in that sense. You put up notices, you have hearings, so that's why I sometimes make the mistake of calling it acquisition. Recording process, so the land recorder will then report back to Mary as the national recorder with all their findings, and then Mary will make a decision as to, okay, I've got all the evidence here, I'm putting out a notice saying this is what I believe are the records of who owns what land and where, the boundaries. There's an appeal process or time for that, and then it is made official, and Mary gives a certificate. I kind of explained most of that before, but then what happens, there's a very small paragraph in the Customary Land Records Act that says after a group has received their record, their official record from the National Recorder, they may apply to the Registrar of Titles to have that land registered. Very simple process that should probably be a bit more provision around that, and we would like to provide that in the Act as well. But at the moment, that is the process. They just go simply to the Registrar of Titles and ask, can you please now register our recorded land?
So it would be registered as what?
A perpetual estate in the name of that group.
In the name of the group, not trustees or...
It's a moot point. It doesn't say one way or the other. Perhaps Mary can add a bit more on that.
Mary, please.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Chair. It would be a registration to the name of the group as customary land. It does not lose its customary nature. It's the registration of the rights that are on the land.
Rights on the land?
Yeah, it's a registry.
Not the land itself, the ownership of the land, it's just the rights.
It's a very grey area that we're currently, in terms of, as it stands now, none of the lands that have been recorded are recorded under that provision because of the grey area in terms of, is it the rights or is it the land?
None of them are registered?
None of them are registered.
How many have you done?
We have done 33.
And none of them registered?
None of them are registered because of that grey area, the primary rights or the secondary rights or...
But PS, you need to come with an amendment to clarify this. This is a very important...
Can you explain what we're doing now in order to amend the bridge?
Yes. So, in terms of going forward with this, we're proposing a new amendment. So, we would create a new legal interest, and this interest would be referred to a customary land perpetual estate, whereby the ownership section would refer to the land as being owned by a landholding group, a tribe, or, and it's only that the representatives, the persons that will be signing, giving effect to whatever will be changing, but the ownership section will never change. So in doing that, we would have to amend the the Land and Titles Act to insert that new legal interest in terms of community or landholding interest to facilitate for that. After that happens, then it can be, managed or dealt with in just as in any leases would currently do at the moment.
How close are you to bringing that?
So we're hopefully by next year we should bring that. We're currently doing the consultations now.
Commissioner, can you touch on the consultation?
Further? Yes. PS. So we do have a policy framework that was already approved by Cabinet. We have started the consultations around the country in different provinces. Most recent one was in Tulagi just last week. We are hoping to be in Auki in, I think, the week after next, where we can do some further consultations there. And we have a couple of other provinces to go. And of course, here in Honiara, we'll need to do some meetings too. So the policy framework is there. We are yet to have those particular amendments drafted, but we will be talking to the legal drafting unit about that to then bring it all together and have it brought up to Parliament. But we do need some clarity around that process of creating customary land perpetual estates, which will be different to normal perpetual estates in that they will be in the name of the land holding group, not individuals, not trustees, and they will never be able to be transferred. They will always be in the name of that group. They can subdivide them, they can sublease them, you can have grants of profit over them, anything else, but the perpetual estate will remain with the landholding group. That's how it differs from any other normal perpetual estate.
Hallelujah. Good one, eh? Let's hurry up, PS. Hurry up, Lam. So in the meantime, we're looking at the minerals bill, yeah? No wonder they cut you out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of the timing issue. Was there some consultation about that, saying, oh, there'll be a time lag when you bring your amendments, then Emmy insert them by consequential amendment, come back later, so this then ties into it. Maybe that's the... did they say? We will ask them. They're going to come back at the end. We will ask them why they left it out. I mean, it's an important process. How did you do it with win-win? We asked them today, and they said that artisanal mining law, Turarana, there was an acquisition. So, but they weren't very clear whether acquisition process blue fale or customary recording. What happened at Win-Win, Turarana?
You're aware of that one?
I think there's both processes. There's recording and then there's acquisition as well. The acquisition came as a result of the application of Win-Win turning into a mining lease, but previously we had already started the recording process for the Koihoto land holding group within that area, which ultimately involves 4 tribal groups and about 16 or 15 sub-tribes with all the different land blocks. So with regards to the Win-Win application, because of the requirements for a lease to be registered, that's why it has to be registered and acquired.
So now it's registered. So you run the customary land recording process right at the end. Once you clarified genealogies and what tribes here, acquisition officers sign with those tribes. Is that what you did?
No. These processes, they run independently of each other. The recording process runs independently from the acquisition process. The land that was acquired was left out of the recording process, basically because we did not want to have 2 legal processes on top of.
Right. And there was no inconsistency between the persons identified by the acquisition
There's
officer?
no inconsistency.
No more, eh?
No inconsistency.
Kasi walk out good to man. Once you malite, I think different story man. Okay, well that's interesting.
No, all the 3 recordings where you've already completed. Any disputes come after that? No.
No, there's no disputes. There's there's no disputes in terms of the records. We do have, it's not kind of like an appeal process, but it's a consideration process. But then once we do the consultations, then we find out that the person complaining is just a branch of this root or tree or leaf or whatever within the family genealogy. Yeah, so, and again, that just goes out.
Oh, very good, very good. PS, you must raise the budget for this recording thing. You must move, eh? Oh, that's very good. So, maybe give us a written submission. Maybe even suggest some wording on how we could tidy this up, because we would like to make a strong recommendation. How do you say it must be low registered land? That's a big jump with no clear process for custom, how you register customary land. So it's a very valid point.
Yeah.
And Commissioner, I like the way you presented it, but then at the end you regret, what you've seen in the bill.
Or not seen in the bill.
Yeah, it surprised me. But it sounds great, and with the national recorder, then a good way forward for the customary land ownership in terms of these developments. At least it will help the process of identifying who are the rightful custodians in terms of their rights.
Yeah, we would be happy to put in a submission. We've already got a lot of what we would put in the submission is already in emails and so on that we've had with the Ministry of Mines over the years. Mary's done a very simple chart that just shows how the two processes would run alongside each other from the letter of intent stage, which is where recording would come in. You would just want to insert a clause in there to say, before a letter of intent is issued, there should be a customary land recording process started, and then prospecting stage, and so on, so that it mingles, the two bills or two acts mingle with each other.
How long does it typically take? It's a recording process.
The shortest that we've done was 14 months. 14 months, and this would, going back and forth. Sometimes you plan for a meeting, but then you would have a death within the village, then you would have the customary obligations as well. And some of these areas are very hard to access. You can be accessible you go by plane, you go by boat, and then you get there, you travel sometimes very difficult terrain.
And the longest one, 14 months, shortest, longest?
The shortest was 2 years.
Longest, 2 years?
Yes. The longest was 2 years.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not
before. What you're saying is before an LOI is issued, this process,
Just to start, that's all.
So in tandem, they run in tandem.
Yes, we are recommending they run alongside. So the LOI process is 3 months. The recording process is also 3 months. So why not we post both notices together?
And what about the land acquisition process? How long it takes to acquire title?
Yeah, good question, Honourable. It's again a matter of how long is a piece of string. It could be very short, it could be very long. A lot depends on whether there are any appeals. It's much more about a legal process, that one. There's one acquisition that I'm aware of that took about 12 years. It can happen much faster. It could be a few months. So a great range of times. If somebody appeals to the Magistrates' Court, that can obviously delay things. And even if the Magistrates' Court throws out an appeal against the acquisition officer, it can end up at the High Court if someone really wants to take it further. And then you have to wait for the High Court process. And again, that can take years. So that can be very much delayed, and it all depends on, we don't know what the response is going to be from the people who have claims over the land.
What's happened to the policy proposals to keep customary land, follow process here, go, register or some customary land now, start na but no also more go back more law. Once we register it becomes alienated land. I thought we were going to create a new registry of customary land titles. Or in effect, this is what you're proposing to do with these amendments?
Yeah, I think as we were explaining the customary land perpetual estates, that is essentially, it's registered, but it's not alienated.
Right.
They're not the same thing. So I prefer not to use the word alienated because it doesn't necessarily describe all registered land. A lot of registered land is not owned by aliens. It's owned by local Solomon Islanders. It's registered, but not alienated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the alienation part was when it was, start colonial time, when the titles were alienated from the tribes and therefore their rights were literally taken off them.
Yeah.
That is alienation.
Yeah. I think in protectorate days, it was probably less likely or never that registered land was in the name of Solomon Islanders, but that's become more and more the case these days.
Yeah, and the fact that perpetual estate could never be registered in a tribe's name, for example. So that is effectively alienation. You've taken the tribe and replaced it with a person or a group of individuals. So there has been alienation. The fact that Solomon Islanders or indigenous Solomons now hold those does not negate from the fact that it was alienated in the beginning. But there's one good policy direction, this one.
It is.
So, amendments must come with time. Don't consult forever on it. You know what you must do. But this bill places further pressure on you, urgency to get that piece of work done and finalized.
Yep. We're trying our best as fast as possible.
Yes, I'm sure.
And there are people out there with the signatures. I'm not all about one way, because if we go by the tenure and the structure, the chief, paramount chief, and then the tribal, like the sub-tribes, the titles are there. In our case, it's just not anybody that will just go and sign on behalf of them. Yeah. There are people that they are rightfully to represent those tribes.
Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, please, PS Commissioner and National Record submit to us. It's important. I pick it up why they sort of sideline you, because yesterday we were dealing with the 6 feet ownership and the people and the country, and so it is not very clear there. And the mining will deal with more customary, more people, and so your involvement need to be less. I think that is how this bill is structured, in my view. But we'll need to correct it, and please submit to us with your recommendations, and we'll certainly take it on board to put in our report. With that, we'll stop here. Thank you, PS Commissioner, National Recorder, for your presence before the committee and also your submission. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good